With spring upon us, the gardens begin to grow, and Grandfather Nurgle requires more souls. Today's video is rather special. It is a collaboration between fellow YouTubers to bring Nurgle some gifts. But these are not your usual bountiful blooms of spring, but rather a horrifying caricature of man's descent into the plague god's insanity. Together, we are producing a series of videos, one for each of our channels. This is my contribution to The Seven Spawn of Nurgle. Let us begin with the body of a bloat-drone, already a grotesque picture of what Nurgle can do. But I want something more from this model. I require both the outside and inside for my creation. I begin by removing the top half of this model. I have something even more horrifying to take its place. Then I begin cutting open the centre. My plan is for the abdomen of this mini to be a gaping mouth, and to do that I need to break it open like an Easter egg, though I'm not sure anything about this mini will be appetizing when I finish with it. With the bottom half done, I get the sacrificial model for the torso. This is the ethereal steed from the Age of Sigmar Knight of Shrouds. When I first saw this mini, I knew it would make a beautifully horrid conversion piece. The dripping flesh and the exposed ribcage are everything I want in a nightmarish miniature. But as I only want the ribs, the knight will have to be vacated from his steed and consigned to the bit box for another time. Great, with him out the way we can get onto the meat and bones of the situation. As this is such a unique miniature, I want to keep every part of it either for this or future conversions, so I try my best not to completely destroy it. Every part of this beast will be used. Being such a spindly model, it is hard to tell which parts are attached to what, and when it comes to the forelimbs, I am a little lost as to remove them without damaging the delicate ribs. Sometimes in kit bashing you just have to take the plunge and go for it. No matter how bad you cut a model, you can always hide it with green stuff, and thanks to Nurgle, you don't even have to be neat and tidy about it. So for this I want to open up again, like the abdomen. Luckily this was a little easier. I carefully made two cuts and popped it apart. Then I glue into position. But instead of pushing the peg into the hole, I just gently rest against it. As nasty as it sounds, I want the inside of this model to be just as important as the outside. With the top and bottom of this model complete, it begin to look a bit like a spatchcock chicken, but more on that later. Next I take a leg from another steed, this time from a Chaos Knight, which I picked up off eBay, and someone has already done a top-notch job with priming already. Now, to begin with, I was going to make this creature have 4 horse legs, but I only had one Chaos Knight and its legs were not all quite in the best positions. In the end I had to remove both of its front horse legs and bring in something more ornithological. See, I told you the chicken would be back. These are the 4 legs of the Griff Charger, another model for the Age of Sigmar Soul War box. Turns out that even though I don't play Age of Sigmar, these models still come in handy. These are not only larger, they also add more menacing characteristics to the model, ready to reach up and claw at the opponent, or maybe catch a hold of them like a falcon and push them into his open maw. To keep with the equine theme that I originally thought of for this mini, I used the head from the ethereal steed. It has an interesting bit in this mouth, and I think it will add more character to the face. But this is a Chaos Spawn, so I had to introduce something else to the mix. This is the bat head from the Archon the Black model, a humongous model that I have great plans for in the future. Also, the Archon model is something I won in the conversion contest, which I entered my Nurgle Demon Prince into. #humblebrag. Anyway, back to this model. I want to capture the utter terror that this person is feeling after being transformed into this hideous creature, and to do that I want him to have an open mouth as though he's screaming. After performing so many rituals for Nurgle, he thought he'd be rewarded with princehood, but instead his insides torn asunder, his flesh peeled from his bones.
Scream all you want, no one is coming to save you now. They will only look on you in horror at the abomination you have become. You will do my bidding, you will carry out my every word, for you are my servant, and I am your god.
Sorry about that, I got a little carried away for a minute. Now, where were we? Ah yes, now we move on to his arms. In my original concept, I wanted his arms to be small and weak, almost like a T-Rex, giving it a sense of even more loss of control. I can imagine this creature desperately trying to grab hold of anything during its transformation, but its arms shriveled up. And what is better than 2 arms? 6 arms. So wait, with 6 arms and 2 legs, does that make this thing an octopus something? Guess that's just another animal to add to the list of anatomy this beast has. Now, for one final sick twist Grandfather Nurgle has in store for this monster. He has ripped him open, multiplied his tiny pointless arms, turned his legs into that of a chicken. Now he will rid him of his sight. Do you wonder why he's screaming so loud? It might be the fact he has horns growing out from his eye holes. These are from the Dark Eldar racks, another kit that are just awash with grotesque imagery. This backpack even more so, with its twisted, gnarly horns. Doing Nurgle's work, I pluck out his eyes and place some horns atop his pitiful head. Now this model is nearing its final form, but it is still looking quite rough. I don't think any of these pieces fit well together. I've had to use so much super glue on this model just to keep it from crumbling in my hands. To add some strength to this mini, whilst also providing some nice detail, I'll break out the Milliput and green stuff. For this I will use a combination of both, though I could have used a little more green stuff in the mix. The reason I did this is because the amount of surface I need to cover. If it was small I would have used 100% green stuff, but due to its size I would have used up my entire stock, so instead I mixed in with Milliput. I used a rough 1:6 ratio of green stuff to Milliput, as I wanted to keep the plasticity of the former. Unfortunately I think I should have used a bit more in the mix, more like 1:4, as I feel a lot like Milliput when it's sculpting with it. As always, I use a combination of dental tools, rubber shapers and my fingers to create the shape. After filling in the major gaps, I begin to work on the most important part of the sculpting, the arse. What? This guy's got 2 mouths. He needs somewhere for the waste to come out. Poor bastard suffered enough without having his butthole blocked up too. Now to begin work on the insides. There's a reason GW didn't want you to see what's inside of the models, because there's 0 detail, aside from the push-fit pegs and awkward knobs. So for this I'll need to completely design the insides. Luckily for me, I'll be covering this in a thick layer of blood for the blood god, so my work doesn't have to be that neat. Anyway, talking about painting, it's time we wrap this up and head over to the turntable. This glorious piece is just one of Nurgle's gifts though. This is the first in a series of videos in a playlist called The 7th Spawn of Nurgle. Now that I've finished my contribution to the collaboration, it's time for you to check out my fellow cohorts. Big Adventures Miniature World, Ed Nels, Forge of Solus, Patch Workshop, Useless Wizard Miniatures, and the man with the plan, the guy who orchestrated this collaboration, Winter Wizard 7. Each of these channels are amazing and bring their own unique touch to this wonderful hobby. I've had a great time putting together this grotesque miniature. I'm looking forward to watching each of the videos to see what they will be offering to our grandfather of the gory. Until next time, I'll catch you all soon.